And the first thing is food selection, or I should say that some of the final things are food selection. And basically, like, this is such a huge topic, right? We could spend just the entire podcast talking about food selection. And as a result, I'm basically just going to define it, or refine it down, I should say, to just eat real food. We're just going to use this, tagline of JERF, just eat real food, right? That's going to be the baseline of your diet. Now, does that mean that you get all orthorexic with this shit and be like, I can't eat anything if, a human has touched it? I can't, a peeled banana, I couldn't eat that. It's processed, Like, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fundamental foundations of your diet. You're basically aiming to eat real food that, you could have eaten 100 years ago, your grandparents would have eaten, right? Now, is that the best optimal way to think about food selection? Not always, right? And we're well aware of that. However, we're just talking about this general framework for the diet here now. We want to eat some lean meats, some fish. We want to eat some fruits, vegetables, some tubers, potatoes, that kind of stuff, some whole grains. Happy days, steer away from super high saturated fat intake, but you do also want to consume like dairy products. Ideally, especially if you are a Western population, you want to be consuming some fish. That would be ideal. I know I said that, but also some source of iodine. A lot of Europeans, especially, are deficient in iodine because they don't eat a lot of seafood, sea products. Maybe get some seaweed in your diet. And as you can see, we can start layering on more and more and more in terms of like what would constitute good food selection. And we might do an episode or episodes on that in future. But for now, just eat real food, eat a variety of colors, eat some lean meats, go about your day. Do you have anything to add to that, Gary? I'm sure you have some thoughts on food selection.
I mean, like, if you're eating plenty of fruits and vegetables, you're making a conscious effort to get in, your whole grains, you're trying to hit the fiber, like we said, and you're eating your lean meats or, animal-based proteins, or you're making a conscious effort to get in your plant-based proteins, whether it be tempeh, tofu, what's the other one? They all,
I don't care. They all taste disgusting.
Yeah, they all look and taste disgusting. No disrespect.
Oh, I mean disrespect. They're disgusting.
And all the soy-based meats, etc. Once you're making a conscious effort to get in these types of foods as the basis of your diet, you're probably doing a pretty good job. The thing is, when you use that kind of heuristic of just eat real food, while appreciating that, that's not going to cover everyone and it's open to interpretation, when you set the basis like that, you take care of a lot of the things that would otherwise be micromanaging, such as like managing your sodium intake. I was speaking to a client last week. He's got polycystic kidney disease, early stage. He's hypertensive, so his blood pressure is high. And we're really trying to keep an eye on his salt intake. And he was grabbing something in the shop like he normally would, no big deal. Just picked up a sandwich. Pretty sure it was like whole grain bread, some chicken. He was just trying to get a high protein meal in with a decent amount of fiber. And he looked at the packet and it was over 3 grams of salt just in that sandwich. And that's not like McDonald's. That's not him choosing crisps. It was just a regular enough sandwich that most people would think is probably healthy. And that was 3 grams of salt. If he did that, at lunch, and he's a big guy, he could have easily picked up 2 of those. He's like over 100 kilos. You're talking potentially 6 grams of salt there, and maybe another gram or 2 at dinner, gram or 2 at breakfast. You're talking 10 plus grams of salt there without making deliberately high salt choices or adding lots of salt. So if you're choosing those kind of whole foods, making your food at home, most of the time, you're going to be taking care of the things that you would otherwise have to micromanage, such as sodium, such as fiber, such as some of the other micronutrients, and so on. So I think although it's reductionistic and it wouldn't be public health policy, it's certainly a good starting point for most people. And it's something I think about myself. If I find myself eating too much processed food, everything's coming from a packet and stuff, I have to call myself out on that, because it's just not the best way to practice nutrition long term.
100%. And as I said, look, we could talk about this stuff all day, and we might in future. But for now, just use that general heuristic of just eat real food. What is real food? Again, starches, whole grains, fruit and veg, lean meats. Again, stuff that came from the land. Basically think of it like that. Humans didn't have a role to play in it apart from maybe agriculture and animal husbandry and all that kind of stuff.